It is a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you, bro.
Thank you for coming in and doing this.
Yeah, of course, dog.
Based on our last 5 minutes of conversation, it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to say right off the bat, congratulations on everything that you've built so far.
Bro.
I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination to say I don't understand the algorithm for shit.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, I'm starting to understand how to entertain, but like on the stand-up side,
right.
I don't know shit about social media.
Yeah.
I probably should. I'm 4 years into doing this, so I probably should, but I don't. And then with you, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but and I heard you talk about on the BS show how you're getting into all your cannabis industry stuff and all your businesses there. So congratulations on all of that.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
I don't know where you want to start with all this, but like, why social media? I guess, and I ask that just because, like, outside looking in, influencer is an interesting. It's. Do you consider being an influencer a career?
In a way, I mean, I think of it like as in because every influencer has to have their niche, right? So they specialize in a certain topic, right? So some might do how to do videos, some might do mechanic videos, some might do cooking, some might do comedy like me, and it just ranges. There's so much types of content that's out there, and it just really depends on what type of content you're putting out there. Because if you're putting yourself, your persona out there, who you are out there, then you're kind of just like being you, right? Versus, I mean, you could be a content creator making comic book content, per se, and you could make content based on that, and you don't even show your face on there, and you could build a following. So it just really depends on how you are and who you are as a person. And I guess for me, people were drawn to my personality, I guess, and I'm unfiltered. I say what's on my mind. I really don't give a shit if people get upset. You know what I mean? Cause,
clearly.
Yeah. Because at the end of
off of last week, clearly.
Yeah, and you know what? People could get mad because at the end of the day, if they don't know me in my real life directly like that, how do they even know who I am as a person,
Yeah.
So, I see the hater comments talking shit. So, I mean, you got to have thick skin if you're going to put yourself out on the internet because people are brutal and the internet is unforgiving.
Yeah. Well, and it's a permanent record.
Yeah, it's a digital footprint that'll be there for the rest of your life. And I got to say, there's some videos that I'm probably not too proud that I put out there.
Me too. As it turns out, episodes 1 through like 30, it's just like rough. It's like, fuck, you believe that, dude? Right. Oh, shit.
Yeah. And, but I do have fun with it. And I think that's what I really got drawn to is having fun with it. And it started out just like everybody else doing TikToks, doing the voiceovers, doing the TikTok dances, stuff like that. So, it kind of progressed for me because then I started like wanting to make my own authentic content, and I have really fun doing that. And it's kind of like a release for me. It makes me happy, kind of like a hobby for me. I'm able to express my creative side with it. So, and it's opened up a lot of doors and avenues for me. I mean, honestly, it invoked my entrepreneur spirit, because when I first got out of prison, I was working a regular job, 9 to 5. I've worked in construction. I've worked at the radio station. I was a DJ. I was also selling radio advertisement. And now I got into the cannabis industry. I worked for a couple of cannabis companies. And just with having the following I have and the skill set I bring and the advantage I could bring any company, it's almost like it's hard for them to pay me what I'm worth.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's a double-edged sword. It's like they'll give you the opportunity because of who you are. However, if you can't give them what you want in return because they don't want to pay you that, then they're kind of like.
And how, without getting into like numbers, of course, like how do you, as your following has grown and grown and grown, how do you quantify what you're worth? It's such a ambiguous thing, and then especially like, and maybe I don't know if it's a New Mexico thing or it's just outside looking in when it comes to influencer thing, but people look at that like, well, how real is that? How many of those were real follows? How much? Because even if like, and I have no reason to believe that it's not, but like, because you're at what on Instagram, you're at like 55,000, something
55,400, and then Facebook, I'm at almost 76,000. I'm like 40 followers away from hitting 76,000 on there. And then,
So all of my YouTube subscribers, go follow it.
yeah, give me a ball.
We'll bridge that gap.
Yeah.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the amazing people over at Chop Chili. Guys, this is personally my favorite chili brand here in the state of New Mexico, and you can find them online at chopchilico.com. You can also find them all across the state of New Mexico at Sprouts, Albertsons, Smith's, and a bunch of other stores in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Las Cruces. I believe they're even down in El Paso now. They sell red and green chili, of course. My personal favorite is this blend of red and green, and they also sell online frozen bags of green chili. So again, go to chopchilico.com to get yourself some amazing chili today. Now back to the podcast.
Let's get it. I'm going to start a YouTube this year too. So that's coming soon too.
So I just asked that because people outside looking, they look at that and they're like, well, how much of that is real following? How much of that is, like bots, or how much of it is whatever?
Right.
And so then when you're going to, because I'd imagine people like with brands and companies, when you talk to them, they're like, well, how do you prove the authenticity of the following?
Right.
And then how do you convert that into monetary gain?
So, I mean, you could spot a fake account, bro. You could tell when they're bots, right? They have the following, the fake likes, fake comments, all that. And a good way to tell is if you click the comments and only like 2 real comments pop up, and then you press all comments, and then all of a sudden you see all the comments, but they're like basically generic responses like, wow, cool, awesome, and emojis and stuff. And then you click on the profiles and they don't have no people behind the profile pictures, or there's some like India dude that probably is calling your phone at 11 o'clock at night trying to scam you, saying that they got into your bank account,
Right. Do not redeem.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's like, you could tell based on that. Also a good way to tell, and like say for a business, right? If they want to say, well, how do I know if I put my money towards you to promote me that it's actually going to reach out to an audience? All I got to do is pull up my analytics. Right. And I show them my analytics. Everybody has one, so just pull up my analytics. And I'm kind of doing slow right now on Instagram. So it's like at 620,000 views in the last 30 days. And then on Facebook, I've been killing it on Facebook lately. I've had a couple viral videos lately. And I'm sitting at like 2.6 million, which is, on the average, I'm usually about like 5 million a month on Facebook and Instagram. And then on TikTok, that's probably like about another 1.5, 2 million.
What I'm curious about too is how do you keep your ego in check? Because, well, the reason I asked that is I had a small brush with it like 2 years ago. I had I'm sure you've experienced this too. I had the stupidest clip that I put up from this podcast it ended up hitting, I think, like 5 million.
Nice.
On Instagram. And it was like every 2 minutes. I just refreshed 100, 100. I just went and went and went and went. And I'm watching the engagement climb. I'm watching the little bar on Instagram that shows how many people you interact or have seen your thing.
Right.
And it's climbing up to like 600,000, 800,000. 1 million people have viewed your profile. And I'm like,
you're like, holy shit. It's exciting, right?
It's like, it feels good.
Yeah.
I'm not
like
going to
you
say
hit the lottery, but without the money part.
Yeah. Well, right. Exactly. Right. If I could just get pennies on that dollar, that'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah, you just get the dopamine rush from it.
But I looked at that and I was like, man, if I just got this over and over again, what the fuck would that feel like?
Yeah.
This hit of dopamine's weird. It's a unique one.
It is.
So how do you keep that in check? Or you're just like, all right, well, this is fun. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a rush, and kind of like anything else, like the first time you smoked weed and you're like, oh, I got to do that again, and it's kind of like you keep on chasing that feeling again. So you keep on posting content. I think so far on TikTok, I have 6 videos that have hit a million views or higher. And then, I mean, I can't even, let's just put it this way. On TikTok alone, I've accumulated about 150 million total views in the last 5 years. And then on Facebook and Instagram, I'd have to look at the analytics to see how much I got in total for the whole time. But I would say within the last couple of years, I got 5 videos on Facebook that have hit the millions. And then I have 6 videos on Instagram that have hit the millions.
And when did you start seeing this take off for the first time?
Man, on shit, bro, right away. I would say when I first posted on TikTok, Overnight, I gained 2,200 followers.
Damn.
And my video had like 40K views on it. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is amazing. I got to keep going. So the next day I posted another video. That one hit like 34K. And I was like, oh shit. And these are like my first 2 videos.
Yeah.
So within 3 weeks, I hit 10K followers on TikTok.
Sounds like a trap real quick.
Right. And mind you, I didn't know at the time that you had to have 1,000 followers to go live. So I had the live option right away. I didn't even know, like, yeah, bro. I didn't even know that was a thing.
When I had TikTok, we never went live.
Yeah.
There were certain categories I didn't hit.
Yeah.
But that's just insane to me. And what, does it kind of circle back, like what drew you to it in the first place? You mentioned you were in radio for a little bit, but what made you want to try social media or was it just like I'm gonna fuck around and see what happens?
Actually, I tried radio later on.
Oh, okay.
But honestly, it was my cousin. He was like, he saw me make a video on Instagram, and he was like, "Bro, you should put that on TikTok. I think they would do good. You're pretty good at it." So I was like, "Nah, I'm not even gonna bother with it." You know what I mean? And then the video that I ended up blowing up with was not even the video that I did in the first place. And then I thought, I was like, "Oh, cool, I have something here." And then I shared what I looked like in my mugshot when I was through inactive addiction to meth and heroin. And so a lot of people were like, "Wow, your glow up is crazy. You look like you were literally like dead. You look like a whole new person, you know?" And so I inspired a bunch of people by sharing my story. I would talk about it on my lives with people. I've never been shy to share the personal life of who I am and what I've gone through. I'm like, yeah, I'm a 3-time felon. Yeah, I went to prison. Yeah, I been through the worst. I've done drugs, the whole 9, you know, but here I am now. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's cool because I've had a lot of opportunities because of social media. I've gotten sponsors before. I had a dentist office that did my teeth. I had a New Mexico look. They noticed that I was rocking their Lobo gear in my videos, and they're like, "Hey, bro, come through." And then I rolled through, and they just gave me clothes every time I walked in. You know what I mean? Because they're like, "Bro, you're promoting the fuck out of us. Here's a hoodie."
That's a hell of a turnaround, going from addicted to some of the worst substances on the planet to free clothes.
Right. And then I was also on methadone and Suboxone. I tried to get go through the opioid recovery. So I did use Suboxone for about 2 years when I got out of prison, and then it took me about a year to wing myself all the way off.
Yeah, and because the podcast you recently did hasn't come out. I think that comes out on Friday.
Yeah.
Because was that 519?
Yes.
That's a hell of a setup, huh?
It's badass in there.
Yeah, my homies that do the April Fools, they have their setup there, and I went down, I was like, what the fuck?
It's like a fucking TV studio.
Yeah.
Right.
And the fact it's like all for free, I was like, whoa.
Right. And I'm just incredible. Like, damn, I'm going to have to take advantage of this too. Shit, I just need to get some text in there.
And I saw some of the clips of that, but you said you're very transparent and open about that. How long of a period of your life was that going on for? Before we even start with that, actually, I want to take it back a little further. Are you born and raised here in New Mexico?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here in Albuquerque, or was
I'm from the North Valley originally.
Okay.
When I was about to hit middle school, we moved out to Enchanted Hills in Rio Rancho, right there by Bernalillo. I lived there till I was 15, and I literally moved out of my house when I was 15 years old. Got an apartment.
What ignited that?
I wanted to smoke weed in my room, and my mom wouldn't let me.
Well.
And that's the God honest truth, bro. I literally was like, "Mom, I can't live here no more." She was like, "Why, mijo? Why? Why don't you want to live here?" I was like, "Well, you won't let me smoke weed in my room, and I have to go outside to smoke, and that's bullshit. So I love you. I'll come and visit you, but I got to do my thing, Mom. I'm a grown man."
It's good. I have not built the grown man toughness of smoking outside yet. I need a nice heated room.
Right? I want to watch fucking, well, at the time it was like DVDs and shit, you know,
Yeah.
But I wanted to fucking watch TV and smoke weed, and she wouldn't let me,
So you move out at 15. Mm-hmm. Were you still going to high school at that point?
I dropped out.
Dropped out. Did you end up continuing that through, like, I forget what's like a GED program?
No.
Or just fuck it.
Well, my mentality was, and you know, I have an understanding now, but my whole life I literally felt that the high school diploma or GED was just a piece of paper that didn't mean nothing. And it's kind of proved me right, to be honest. But to a certain degree, I understand that it is important if you want to advance to college. I understand that it is important for some jobs, right? But if you want me to be real, I've had about 5 different jobs since I've been out of prison, and only one has asked for my high school diploma.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm not gonna say what company I work for. However, it is like it's in our like the basic requirements to work. It's a security company, so for the basic requirements, you have to have a high school diploma or a GED, pass a background check, and then pass the easiest drug test known to man. And it's literally just a mouth swab.
Yeah.
The easiest drug test known to man. But for a lot of the entry level, like obviously the administrative jobs and so on and so forth, you need to provide documents and so on and so forth. But with just entry level security jobs, they don't check.
No, they don't.
And I was kind of shocked, like, because I mean, I'm on the other side where I'm like, well, I think most people, if not everyone, should finish out high school. But I mean, a lot of companies don't, especially like on the entry level side of things, don't really check that much.
No, they don't. And to be honest, what they teach you in high school to obtain that diploma is ridiculous. Like, why don't they teach you how to budget a checkbook? Why don't they teach you any kind of life skills? Why don't they have classes for that? They don't have home ec anymore. They don't have, they don't even teach the kids to do writing cursive. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like they're learning a bunch of nonsense. Like, yes, it's cool if you could learn this information, but is it necessary? Like,
yeah, well, I think obviously you need to have basic arithmetic. You need to have basic mathematical skills. You need to have a basic. I think the best thing that you can pull out of schooling, and granted, I went through high school, I did 2 years of college, and then dropped out of college 5 more times. But I think the best thing that you can pull out of schooling outside of basic arithmetic and learning to read, write, and basic math is critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
It's how, it's not what to think, it's how to think.
Right.
And there's a lot of different ways you can go about that. And that's honestly one of the things that excites me the most about the new administration is that them looking at the Department of Education being like, okay, because people don't really understand how our education system, where we took that from the Germans in the 30s.
Yeah.
Like, for anyone listening, is there maybe a reason why kindergarten sounds like a real German word?
Right. There you go.
It's because
I didn't know that. You know what? Here's a little fun fact. I know this is off topic, but here's a little fun fact about the Germans, right? So when they got exiled or kicked out, we'll just keep it 100, the Nazis from Germany, they migrated to South America and Mexico.
Oh, people know. Oh, yeah.
So what's crazy about that is the Mexican-style lager beer was actually taught by the Germans that got exiled from Germany at the time. And so if you really notice, if you're a beer drinker out there, German lager is almost identical to a Mexican lager. It's just darker.
Right.
It's a little bit more hoppier.
Right, exactly. And
But they didn't have enough hops back then to make their beer, their lagers, right? So they used what they could. And that's what came about with the Mexican style lager.
Well, and I forget what country it is, but I want to say it's Argentina. There's a country where a bunch of because it's a very ugly part of history, but there's a really good documentary about it, and I'm spacing on the name, but it's on Tubi. It's basically about the ethnic cleansing that happened of Germans around the world post World War II.
Yeah.
But before all of that happened, there were a lot of Nazis that had that fled Germany because of the Nuremberg trials that were coming up.
Right.
And I think it was Argentina.
Yeah.
And even today, I believe there's still like a small, basically a colony where it's all Germans down there.
Yeah.
And they don't let anybody
I've
in
heard of
there.
that, actually.
It's just Germans down there.
That's crazy.
It's like, yeah, who are you descendants of?
Yeah.
Like, hey, wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a minute, they're Hans.
Yeah, you're selling very Himovich over here, bro.
But so you move out at 15. How the fuck did you get an apartment at 15? Who signed off on that?
So I knew this chick. I was a pimp like that. You know what I mean? I had this chick that was 19. And at the time, she was able to get an apartment. So she signed off on it.
So you move out at 15. You're in an apartment. What did life look like on your own at 15 years old in New Mexico?
I mean, honestly, I felt like a grown-ass man already. I worked full-time in construction. I'd go to work every day, come back home. I would roll some joints, kick it, smoke, kick it with homies and shit, kick it with chicks, have them come over. You know what I mean? And that's just how I kept it, bro. Brought chicks with the chick over. I didn't care, bro.
You're just a fucking dog at 15.
Yeah, I was, bro. Like,
so when did it take Because at some point it clearly took a darker turn. When did that happen?
I mean, if you want me to be real, bro, I've always been hustling. Since I was 13 years old, I had always sold weed. Like, that was my shit. But it was
Keep going. I'm just
Mexican
going to check
brick.
cameras and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, no, you're good. I was smoking brick pack. I was selling brick pack Mexican weed back at the time. And, you know, it was the thing that everybody was smoking on. So I found out how to do business at a young age, and I kept it going. Then I worked in construction, so I had a legitimate check. And then I decided to continue selling weed. And then there was a shift in the weed cannabis industry on the black market at the time, around like 2009, 2010. Everybody started wanting to get nothing but high grade, what we called high grade back then, or chronic, you know. And people were more than happy to buy that shit. And I was happy because they bought more of it. So it was a win-win for me. And honestly, I'll be real, bro. I had like 3 jobs my whole entire life before I went to prison. I've had more jobs outside of prison than before I went to prison. And that's because I hustled, you know what I mean? So, but it was on a level to where I was like, I felt professional with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was literally paying my bills. I was financially free. I could go on vacations, go to music festivals, get VIP tickets to everything, have a VIP section in the club, go to the strip club, about $2,500 in one night, just on strippers and the VIP and champagne and shit like that. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I lived that fast life back then, and I was really about my money. I tried a bunch of different business retails back at that time. I tried a smoke shop. I tried a vape shop. And because, you know, I was trying to get something legit, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to work for nobody. And then I started a vape shop. And then I got to a point where my partner got a DWI, kind of messed up the whole money situation on trying to get the business going. I ended up just letting it go. I paid off the loans that I took out for it. And then I just went about my life. I got a job working at a golf course for a little bit. And I went and got an apartment in the Heights, and at the time I was involved with Percocets. And so, you know, I'd always been like a rave kid, doing mushrooms and ecstasy and acid and stuff like that. And I got involved with a couple of people that were into Percocets, and I sold Percocets. And when I had a toothache one day, and they were like, just take some perks, it'll help you, you know. So I did, and I really liked the feeling. And then I went from taking them to snorting them to smoking them, and then switched to heroin, and then started shooting it.
How old were you at this point?
I was 25. And so I started shooting it. And then the girl I was with at the time, she was doing meth. And so she kind of introduced me to meth. I introduced her to heroin. And we both went down a fucked up path, you know. And I went from making a lot of money and being like serious about my money to basically robbing people and stealing shit, breaking into cars, stealing their shit, stealing the whole car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I went to prison for, actually, was auto theft.
Auto theft?
Yeah.
Well, we were like, are we still number 1 for auto theft?
I think we went down on the list.
Because we were number 1 for a long fucking time.
Yeah, we definitely were competing with Anchorage, Alaska for the number 1 spot for
Jesus
years.
Christ, Anchorage, Alaska.
Anchorage, Alaska,
See, and
bro.
they're doing it because it's cold as shit, and they
Yeah.
need somewhere to like not die.
Yeah, and they're just doing like, I remember back in 2015, it was almost like you got into a homie's car and you're like, how long have you had this? And the reason why you ask that is because it takes 24 hours for the stolen vehicle VIN to go into the NCIAC database or whatever for stolen cars. So you could drive that motherfucker around for a whole day without a cop getting a ding on it.
Right.
And so,
Well,
like,
you're also looking around like, hey, that's not your family picture. Hey, wait a minute.
yeah, bro, it's all. Why do you have a pink lucky rabbit's foot hanging from your rearview mirror?
Shit. So, how long did you end up getting locked up for?
2.5 years.
And was that local here at MDC?
No. So I did spend some time at MDC. I spent like about 4 months there. Got out for a month. Went to Sandoval County for 8.5 months. And then I ended up getting sentenced to prison while I was locked up in Sandoval County, and then I did 2.5 years.
Okay. And do you, I'll ask that later. I am curious about that experience. Like, so what was the entry process looking like? Like
Like
what
when
was,
you first get to prison
yeah.
or jail?
Jail and then prison.
Okay, so when you get to jail, I mean, honestly, bro, it's when you know you're fucked, you just get comfortable right away. You're like, I'm not gonna worry about getting out of here. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna get comfortable.
Well, I mean, if there's a couple ways your mind can go, and that's probably the safest route.
It is.
Because, and quite honest with you, I'm trying to write a bit about it, but I know I'm not built for prison. I know for a fact I'm not built for fucking prison.
I don't think anybody is, bro. I don't think anybody's really just wanting to like just built for that. Like it's all. Am I built for being a fuck up in life? Because if so, I fucking did it with flying colors, you know. But yeah, I would say that. You know, you got some knuckleheads in there. They love to fight. They're little shitheads in the streets. You know what I mean? And when you have a mentality like that, and I was a little shithead in the streets, you know what I mean? So going in there, it was like a reunion, seeing people that you were out in the streets with in there. Because then you're like, oh, I used to deal with you, and you. And so you kind of, it's like, oh, cool, I have some homies in here already. And then, you know, it's not like the movies, like where you got some big old fucking inmate coming over here to grab your cornbread. You know what I mean? It's not like that, dog. It's really not like that. It's like based on basic respect and common sense. You know what I mean? And yeah, some of the rules are a little bit, you know, I guess different than rules out here. So like, for example, in the morning at Sandoval County, and it ranges from different jails, the rules, you know. So in the morning, they would serve us breakfast, right? So we would eat breakfast. Nobody was allowed to use the restroom while we were eating breakfast, not even to take a piss.
What was the reasoning behind that?
Because they had bars, so it wasn't like a room you could go in and use the restroom.
Oh, it's like an open.
So it was like open, so ain't nobody want to hear anybody pissing while they're eating their Cheerios. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right.
So yeah, it's just like certain little things like that. I mean, like, and like just courtesy type shit. Like if somebody else's bowl or belongings are in the microwave, you know what I mean? Like you don't just grab it and touch it.
Right.
You say, hey, somebody's stuff in the microwave. You be courteous, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, basic, you said just common sense of being, you know, don't make life harder than it already is.
Right, and don't steal, because that's the number one way to get your ass beat. Don't get in debts, because I would say that's the number one reason why people get their asses stomped out.
What was the common currency, I guess?
Oh, I mean, shit, bro. It just depended on who was selling whatever to you, right? So I would say, if somebody really liked honey buns, or if they were on a workout tip and they really liked packs of tuna and chicken, or if somebody was like, send peanut butter and drinks and shit like that, because you could get Cokes in there and stuff, you know. So it just really depends on who you're doing business with, you know. People have their different preferences.
So when you move on to prison, is there a normal day?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a majority of the time it's just,
because I imagine a lot of it's obviously, you know, this happens at this hour, this happens at this hour. It's very a structured day, but like everything that happens inside of that is a variable. Well, what did like a normal day look like in prison?
So I would say like an average day would be they buzz the doors for breakfast, so that's how you wake up. Open the door, you go outside, you get your tray, you go sit down at your table, and everybody has their own tables, right? Like so. In New Mexico, it's not divided by race so much like it is Cali. So it's more by like areas and towns and cities you're from.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So if you're from Albuquerque, you eat at the Albuquerque table. If you run with the white boys, you eat with the white boys. If you run with the blacks, you eat with the blacks. You know what I mean?
Within that section.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And so you go to you get your tray, eat at the table.
If you fucked up, you probably ate a table.
Yeah. Exactly. You might eat more than just the table if you fuck up. Yeah. And then after that, they give you time, and you could chill in the day room. You could watch TV, or you could go back to your bunk, and you could watch TV in there. You could write letters, do whatever you do. You know, some people, they do arts and crafts. Some people write. You know what I mean? Some people will get on the phone and stay on that motherfucker all day long. And I'm like, bro, give it up. She doesn't want to talk to you right now. She's pissed. She's with Sancho right now.
Yeah, I was gonna
like,
say,
she's busy, bro. She's busy taking the glizzy, homie. Like, don't worry. She'll get back to you when you get out, dog.
Yeah, she's on a Costco run, dude.
She can't wait till you go on fucking lockdown, bro.
How common was that dudes were just having their women stolen from them outside? Because I think about when I was obviously a very different experience, but I remember in basic training, it was pretty much like every 2 weeks, another dude's chick gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Unfortunately,
gone.
bro, and like, I mean, and this might be a controversial thing to say, but women are going to go for their best option. And if you are no longer their best option, then there's no loyalty anymore. They're going to leave you and they're going to go to their best option. It's in their nature.
It's nature, A, but B, obviously there's negatives to it, but the upside to it, shouldn't that just kind of put you a little fire under your ass to be a little bit better?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To kind of just get your shit together. If that's the caliber of person you want, there's a spectrum of, just like with men and women, there's a spectrum of people. If they're going to pick their best option, you should probably do your best to be that best option. If you fuck up, I mean, you fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, like, you know, whenever I've got my heart broken, bro, I just fucking focused on my money. I focused on my health. I didn't focus on no chicks, no nothing. I just focused on my own shit, and the chicks came. You know what I mean? There's a saying that you will always go broke chasing women, but you will never go broke chasing money.
Well, credit card debt has something to say about that last part.
Yeah.
But
get out of credit card debt.
Yeah.
don't get involved with
and
that.
that's from personal experience.
Right.
But no, there is something to that. And I mean, I don't know. It's, I mean, it just makes perfect sense. Yeah. Do you feel like the prison experience was beneficial at all to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm going to be real with you. I was a shit stick the whole time. So I was involved with the politics that go on in prison and stuff. And
define politics.
So, and in fact, that's how I learned politics, if you want me to be honest. So say, you know, we're Albuquerque, we're Burqueños. We sit at this table, right? Kind of like how I sit in the morning, right? And that's our table. And then our phones are 1 and 2. You know what I'm saying? Nobody uses that. If you're from Cruces or you're from anywhere else, you can't use our phone. You know what I mean? And vice versa, we can't use yours. You know what I mean? Certain times of cleaning the pod, right? Like each crew will be responsible for cleaning that day or whatever, right? So like one day it'll be the Burqueños, the next day it'll be Cruces, the next day after that would be the Blacks. So just certain politics. If something happens, a dispute, you don't just go and act out on something, right? I mean, and there is exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, if some shit's going down, say one of my homies owes money to another person in another ride, then I'll take care of that debt for them, right? Because they're from my city, but I'll probably whoop his ass a little bit. You know what I mean? And let him stay in the pod. But you better not do it again because you go in another debt and I have to pay it for you. I'm going to be pissed and I'm going to beat your ass and you're going to leave on a stretcher. You know, and that's how the rules are in there. You know what I'm saying? So there's like the federal penitentiary. I know they have a lot different rules, but within state, I mean, shit, bro. Somebody calls you a bitch, you got to go fight them. Like, there ain't no argument. Well, I don't know. He's kind of big, bro. I don't think I want to fight him. Like, no, bro. You better go whoop that fool's ass.
And that's why I am not built for prison. Because if someone calls me a pussy in real life, I'm just like, all right, I guess, man. Whatever. It's like, and then if I'm in prison, it's like, now I have to fight you. Fuck.
Yeah. You can't just be like,
take my glasses. Fucking okay.
Yeah, you can't just beat a situation with sarcasm. You can't be like, I am what I eat. You know, you can't just pull that card in prison, bro. So it's kind of fucked up. You got to go in there and whoop some ass or get your ass whooped too, which is also respected though. Like, so if you get your ass kicked in prison, it's not like, you got your ass kicked. It's like, respect, bro. You went in there. You fought.
Yeah. And
you clearly knew you didn't stand a chance and you still stood up. Like,
yeah.
So it shows bravery, shows courage. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, bro, like, us men are very primitive when it comes to shit like that. So we're like, we think of shit like that right off the rip. You know, we'd be like, oh, he's weak as fuck. We don't want him in here. You know what I mean? That's the mentality. And then, like, prison is very primitive in that sense because it goes back to that. And not only that, but, like, fighting. You can't just pull out a gun and shoot somebody in there. So you got to know how to fight a little bit. You know what I mean? And you can also go to prison and not get in one fight at all. It just depends how you move in there. If you're a disrespectful little shit, chances are you're going to have somebody that's bigger and badder than you put some hands on you and humble you, and then you'll learn then.
Yeah.
You know, I would say you got to be careful too, because you got some people in there that are like, they should have been in the fucking UFC, bro. You know what I mean? With the way they fight, bro.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're like, God damn, I have to fight this motherfucker. You know,
He's gonna shoot for the legs immediately. I have weak knees.
Yeah. And then you got to fight in a cell, which is 10 by 10.
Yeah.
That's not a very big. That's like fighting in this room, just like going at it.
Yeah.
You know, but I've seen some crazy injuries in jail and prison.
Oh, I could imagine.
Allegedly, of an incident I was involved with. Allegedly.
This is all entertainment purposes.
All entertainment purposes only. I whooped this fool, allegedly, and fractured his jaw in 3 places. And he shit himself on top of that.
Well, hey, when the body goes into shock, some things may or may not happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it was just it was like, I'll never forget, bro, because that experience was crazy. I've never, like, it smelled so horrible. It fucking did, bro. It literally smelled like shit and blood. Like, you know how blood smells like fucking copper or nickel or something? Like, that's how it smelled mixed with shit. It was just fucking awful.
See, and that's the one thing I can't do, man. I can't do shit. I was in management for caregiving for like 3 years.
Oh.
And I can deal with blood, puke, snot, whatever.
Just shit was not it.
I can do that, but piss, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
Shit. I can't. My body's.
I don't blame you.
He goes into revolt mode, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Fuck, I don't blame you, bro. I really don't fucking blame you. I hate shit. Like, if I step in dog shit at the park, I'm fucking pissed. And if I'm walking on Central and I step in shit on the sidewalk, I'm even more pissed because I know it's from a human. You know what I mean?
And you know what? For being a blue city, I'm just glad that we haven't gotten. Now, granted, I don't think we have the money to, but I'm very glad we haven't gotten to the point of like San Francisco, where there's literally an app where you can track all the human shit on the floor.
That is disgusting.
It is ridiculous out there.
That is fucking gross.
I'm glad we have not gotten to that yet.
Right. They should just put all these people out in the country. They can shit all over and fucking... They can spread manure all over the crops, you know?
Forget about building apartments. We're going to build a nice commune out in Tijeras. All right? We're just going to...
Matter of fact, we're going to put you to work. Plant these cannabis plants for me. Thank you.
Well, I mean, there's something to that.
Yeah.
So, but back to what I was asking too, like, because how far removed are you? For how many years have you been out?
So it'll be 5 years and a couple months out now.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Looking back on that, what benefits in general do you feel like did it help you at all? Because I mean, growing up, I grew up in a very Republican family, very like pro death penalty and blah, 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 blah. But as I grew up, I just started again reading and listening to other people and just kind of trying to form my own thought. I'm like, damn, yeah, our prison system is fucked up. A, B, the death penalty is not that accurate.
No.
There are people getting exonerated of their crimes years, if not decades, after they've been put to death.
Yeah.
This is probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
And then what really turned it for me was there's this guy, he used to work for the Innocence Project. He has his own independent stuff now. His name's Josh Dubin, and he's been on Rogan a few times.
Okay.
And he would bring people onto the program that were on death row.
Yeah.
Their program got them exonerated because they brought evidence forward that was so clearly exonerating these people.
Right.
And so I was just listening to all those stories like, oh, fuck, we really need to fix this. Like, our shit is fucking broken.
It is.
And then you start learning about private prisons and, like, how they make money. And then with the L.A. fires, there were volunteer firemen that were inmates.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think a lot of people... I knew generally about the California policy about that.
Yeah.
About how there was a lot of people that were incarcerated that would go and be firefighters. But
we have that here, too.
We do.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. So when you go to the level 1 in the prison, because there's levels, right? 1 through 6. And 6 being...
like maximum security, right.
And then 1 being minimum, the most minimum security you can get. Like, I mean, it doesn't even look like a prison, bro. They look like duplexes.
No shit.
And they don't even have fences with barbed wire around them. They're just like little like 4 foot fucking concrete block fences around it.
Huh.
And so
What were you just for context? What were you in?
I was in for auto theft.
Right, the level.
The level. I'm sorry. I was in level. I started off at level 2 because of my age and the nature of my crime. It wasn't violent or crazy like that. I didn't have a lot of time with it. I only had 2.5 years. Well, technically at 50%, it would have been like half of 2.5 years. You know.
Right.
What I mean?
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that much time. They put me in level 2, and then I was a shit stick, and I got in a few fights. Allegedly they were me assaulting people, right? And I consider them fights because they provoked me. But I got in a fight, a couple fights. My points went up, and I ended up going to the level 3 because I went from 5 points to 15 points.
Oh, so there's a whole point. So that's ranking the like the severity of the inmate, or like how much security you need for.
Right.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
from like 12 to 18, I don't know the exact number. It's like 12 to 18 points is level 3, which is medium security. Anything 11 and under to 5 or to 3, I think, or 2, I think, is minimum restriction. So level 2, and then level 1 is basically where they have the work programs. They have a firefighter program, the whole nine.
No shit.
Yep.
That is they're obviously not getting paid as much as regular firemen. So that is insane that they can be forced to do that type of work with none of the benefit.
Well, I was working with a nonprofit called Ole, and they're the organizations of New Mexico. And so what they do is they advocate for inmates that are working for wages, not getting tax returns on their wages, getting paid literally under $1 for jobs an hour.
Right.
It's basically slavery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the state profits off of it. You know what I mean? I worked in the kitchen making 80 cents an hour.
Right.
My whole check would be like a whopping $120 a month. That's working like a regular job, bro. You know what I mean?
Because it's like, well, because obviously the pro argument is saying, well, they're inmates,
Right.
they should be punished. It's like, okay, well, their punishment is getting removed from society.
Right.
Anything tacked on top of that should be up for discussion.
Right. And I agree. And I think that, they should pay, at least decent wages. You don't have to pay them like wages you have out here in society, but at least pay them a fair wage. So by the time they get out, you can put some money aside for them for when they get out. They have money at the gate.
Right.
And then also have money to buy necessities like commissary, hygiene, whatever.
Well, the idea is prison's supposed to be reformatory. It's supposed to be, okay, this is your punishment. You're supposed to be better when you get out. Now, obviously, that's not working because there's a literal term institutionalized.
Yeah.
To where people get so comfortable in prison with, like, you're on the schedule, you know the politics of it, you know the environment, you know what you're running. Then you go into a free society and you don't know what the fuck to do. So you find these people that are intentionally committing crimes of various degrees, obviously, but they're committing crimes just to get sent back.
Right. Well, and I don't think that's their intention. I just don't think they care if they do or not.
Well, right.
Yeah, so I think it's like a matter of it's a mentality like, okay, cool, this is how I am and this is who I am. Well, and then when they get out, they don't know what to do. They freak out with the way society works on having to get a job and all this freedom. I mean, you're free to walk in to a store and buy a pack of beer. You know what I mean? Right. You can't do that in prison.
Well, and actually, I will say this: there's a really good YouTube show. It's called Soft White Underbelly. Have you seen that?
I've heard of it.
It's really fucking good.
I'll have to check it out.
This guy, he's talked to a few dudes that used to be, they were on their way to be lifers in prison, and they've been talking about how we would actually, or I would, try to commit crimes to go back to prison.
Yeah.
So that's where that reference point's coming from. But it's just so the fact that our rehabilitation system is creating stuff like that, like everything has its extremes, extreme positive, extreme negative. But I mean, holy shit, that extreme negative's pretty bad.
Right. And also, this is another thing that Ole that they try to advocate for is giving the inmates right to vote. Because honestly, I think that's also a big factor. Because if you look at the numbers, I don't know them offhand, but if you look at the numbers of how many Americans are incarcerated right now, that's how many people that don't get to vote. You know what I mean? In certain states, I think they have laws where they let their state inmates vote. But I think New Mexico is definitely not one, and there's a majority that aren't.
Let's see. I don't want to type. I'm lazy. How many people in the United States are incarcerated? So right now, so as of 2022, there are 1.8 million people incarcerated.
So that's 1.8 million people that don't get to vote while they're incarcerated. And I think that it does matter for them to be able to vote. And some people might say, why? They're inmates. Take away they're still citizens.
Yeah, they're still citizens.
Yeah, I mean, if people could argue on why illegal immigrants should stay here, it's the same argument for inmates. Well, they're still people.
Well, my whole thing with the immigration thing is like, and that's why I've tried telling my more. I have a more than a few very liberal, very left leaning friends about the immigration topic. I was like, well, look, if Trump gets into office, it's going to be ugly on the immigration. Like, you don't do any type of deportation and make it look good. Right. Like, you're going to see, and sure enough, this all happened. You're going to see pictures of people in handcuffs. Mm-hmm. They're going to be getting loaded onto planes. You're going to see men, women, children. Unfortunate or positive or negative, but you're going to see a lot of men. You're going to see a lot of military-age men, which is what they're worried about.
Right.
And it's not going to look good.
No.
But at some point, it has to. And then the argument that people that came here illegally are not criminals is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
And I know I sound like a fucking Republican right now, but if your first crime, if your first steps into the country
is committing a crime,
well, that makes you a criminal,
right?
Which means you probably shouldn't be here. And I don't see the argument against that logic. I think that's pretty soundproof. That's not like without empathy, but at the same time, it's like when I think they had in 2023. Yeah, in 2023, they had an excess of 2 million new border encounters compared to 2022.
Yeah.
It's like, I think this is a bit of an issue.
Yeah, the numbers are crazy, and and I don't think any sane human would disagree that it isn't an issue. You know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, I mean, I kind of see it like this is the way I see it, and this is my perspective. When I broke the law, nobody protested for me for not going to prison because I didn't hurt nobody. I didn't, cause crazy, serious harm to society. I might have inconvenienced the person that I stole their truck, but at the end of the day, I didn't break no ignition. I didn't break nothing on their vehicle. I didn't wreck it. You know what I mean? I just stole it. They got it. I got in trouble. You know what I mean? Nobody felt sorry for me when I had to go face the consequences for my actions. So if you look at it in this perspective, their actions is coming to a country by skipping the line of a bunch of people that have been waiting in line to get in the country legally. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
And I will say this, though. The system, just like the Department of Correction system, is definitely flawed, just like with the citizenship, right? Like, they should definitely revise how to obtain citizenship and maybe make it a lot more fair for people to be able to qualify to get their citizenship. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I agree. I never understood why, especially with countries that are allies with us. Like, easy one obviously is Mexico.
Yeah.
If we are allies with Mexico, why is there not an international system where, because everything's online now, everything's digital. Why is there not an international system where if you are a Mexican citizen and you are applying for American citizenship, why is there not an online thing that you can do that streamlines, almost like applying for a job,
right?
Where it's a complete and total background check, and as long as your documents have been in conjunction with the Mexican government's guidelines, right? Well, basically whatever it is for America that you are a law-abiding citizen, whatever that is in Mexico, and then it's agreed upon internationally.
Yeah.
If you apply and all your documents are in order and all your stuff, they just run a background check on you.
And then they approve you within a couple weeks or something.
Yeah, they send it to the Americans. Yeah. The Americans look at you and you're like, now, it might take a couple of weeks, might take a couple of months. Yeah. But the idea this has to take years.
Yeah.
And years makes I just don't understand why there's not a streamlined process, at least between, like, I would understand.
Like, maybe somebody from, like, overseas would be different, right?
Well, right. Like, I understand if it's someone trying to come from, like, Iran or Russia.
Somebody that we're known to be enemies with.
Right, exactly. Someone who's not someone who's an enemy of the country, or an enemy state of the United States. Right. That makes sense why there's not a system like that.
Right.
But why don't all NATO countries have that?
Right.
like that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
And we would probably subvert a lot of these issues.
Well, and the thing too is like I think there's a lot of media manipulation that's going out there,
yeah.
and the narrative that's being pushed, it's like they're wanting to deport Mexicans. And if you look at, like, if you actually go onto the government's website and you read, there's a good website called WOLA, WOLA.org. And it'll tell you, like, pretty much the status of the deportations that are going on right now, right? And, it'll tell you the numbers on how many have been deported. The whole nine, there's total transparency with it, you know what I mean? And I think people need to go off of that versus going off of what the media is telling them, because the media is saying they're deporting Mexicans. But if you really look at the data, it's showing that there's been 126 different nationalities that have been deported. So if you divide 126 from 10,000,
Right.
then it kind of gives you a good average of how many different races are really being deported, how many different nationalities are being deported.
Well, and then talk about transparency. What I really is, I've been watching a lot of the the White House press briefings with Caroline. I forget the new lady's name. Is the press secretary?
Yeah,
but
the secretary, the blonde girl.
Yeah, where she's talking about everything that's going on, and even today she's like, "Yeah, we've deported this many people, and since our last briefing, and of those people, here are some of the criminals." And it's like just like murder, rape,
Aggravated assault.
pedophile, murder.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy shit.
Well, like I said, bro, like the media, depending how far they lean, you know what I'm saying? Left-wing media is always going to, point out things to try to, like, twist it, I guess you could say. They try to twist around what's really going on, like the words that are being said. Yeah. When the administration is saying they want to deport illegal aliens that are criminals, they're not calling all immigrants criminals. That's not what they're saying.
Right. In the phrase, it's
right.
These people that are criminals.
Right. But they're trying to say that, he's calling all of
right.
the aliens here criminals. And that's not what's being said. At this point, I think, because I would say I'm more centralist than anything, right? I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I just kind of call it how I see it, right? I call a spade a spade. You said you saw that video I posted on Instagram. And honestly, all I did was ask a question and and share a story and from my friend's anecdotal experience from being deported from Canada back to America.
Right.
Like, I'm not for getting rid of people from our country, right? But I am for securing our border and finding out a good system that'll work for people to obtain their citizenships and come here the right way. I'm all for, because at the end of the day, bro, I was born here. This is my country. I'm American. I have Hispanic, I have Spaniard, Mexican, Apache, and Navajo heritage. I'm a mix. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like, when it comes to these views that I have, I believe that you could be whoever you want to believe in. You want to be. Like, if you want to put a mohawk on your head and you want to tattoo your face, by all means do it. I don't care. That's you. You know what I'm saying? But all I request is that you have mutual respect with me like I would have for you. You know what I mean? Like gay people are cool with me. I'm cool with them. You know what I'm saying? Same with lesbians, same with everything else in the mix. But there's certain things that are just like, for example, with the whole trans and gender ideologies and, all that's pretty radical if you ask me. I have a 15-year-old daughter and, I want her to be safe at school. There was talks about them making public schools unisex bathrooms. I thought that was a crazy idea. I was like, at that point, I'm going to just take my daughter out of school and just homeschool her. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's what a lot of parents are doing. That's what a lot of parents are thinking, where it's like, well, and listen, like, Trump hit the nail on the head a couple of days ago. He was talking about how out of all the major countries, like, there's 44 major countries where their education system is ranked, and we're 40 out of 44.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And yeah, exactly. It's insane. And then it's something like we spend, I'm going to get this number off, but we spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars per per student in our public school systems, and we're that low.
Right.
It's like the same thing with the healthcare thing. It's like we spend so much we spend the most on healthcare out of anybody, but we have some of the worst healthcare systems in the world.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, if we're spending that much money and we're getting this product, doesn't it make sense to take your child out of that product and put them into a private school, or put them into homeschool, or just an alternative where you feel safer as a parent?
Right.
I don't have kids.
Well, and at the end of the day,
me.
like even like sex ed in school, right? Like I think it should be, I don't think it should be a requirement. I think it should be up to the parents. I think they should have it available. And if the parents say, yeah, my kid could.
Like an elective.
Right.
Yeah.
And my kid, if they, with my permission, my kid could be in sex ed. Like, that's cool. I think that's the way they should do it. I think they should leave it up to the parents' discretion.
Makes sense to me.
To what they want their children exposed to or exploited to. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to, like, everybody has their own cultures and ways of living. That doesn't make you hateful if you don't align with somebody else that's different.
Well, no, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And the best analogy, so there's a comedian, his name's Dave Smith, and he's a comedian and he's also a political commentator. And he was talking about the education stuff, and he's like, well, it's a failing government program at the end of the day. It's a failing government program. And it's like saying, and people are so used to it and they don't want to change it. It's been how it's been for almost 100 years.
Yeah.
But that's like saying we have a government shoes program where everyone gets their shoes from the government. What if all the soles just started falling out of the shoes? Would we keep getting shoes from the government?
Right.
And it's like, well, everyone, even homeless people, everyone seems to find out how to get shoes.
Yeah.
And it's a completely private industry.
Yeah.
I think we can do the same with education.
Right.
And I like the idea of where they would just give the voucher per year to the parents.
Right.
And then they get to decide what school they send their kid to.
Right.
And so if these public schools suddenly have a crazy drop in attendance and they have a drop in funding, and that's solely because of the customer, not because of mandates, not because of whatever political nonsense. It's just parents in mass do not trust these institutions to properly educate their children, like especially New Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say who, but just people that are close to me have young family members that they know are not performing. They're like they're entering into the like 7th and 8th grade, and they're barely reading at like a 4th or 5th grade level. And this is not a unique story.
No.
I'm sure you know people with kids. Where, I mean, even you having kids, where you're concerned. Where you're like, is my kid reading at the proper level? Is my kid getting educated properly?
Right.
Why can't my kid read something, like even like out of like a magazine? Why can't they read something out of this and comprehend what every 12-year-old should be able to read this magazine and probably pull 80% out of it?
Right.
But I'm not confident that a lot of them can. And then when you see a bunch of parents that are just strapping them in front of iPhones, in front of iPads, and they've got the VR headset on them. I'm not going to say where I was, but I went, someone close to me went to their family's house for a thing, and I walk in, and these little kids are like 8 or 9. They've got this fucking VR thing strapped to their head, and they got the 2 joysticks, and they're just like this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, I'm in a movie. Like, I'm in a movie.
Have you seen those funny videos where they catch their homie doing some wild shit with the VR? I saw this video, bro, where this guy, like, he has this VR on. He's at the edge of the bed, and he's over there fucking going at it like smack. And fucking, they were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He pulls, hey, and he has his pants down and everything. It's just fucking so funny, bro.
But it's just the world that we're living in.
Yes.
Like, technology is not a bad thing, but children, like, we've been raising children for thousands of years a certain way so that they can, and it's been improving. And then technology just stunted things.
Yes.
And it's become a replacement for actual teachers. It's slowly becoming a replacement for parenting.
Babysitters.
For babysit. I mean, how many, like, I don't go out to eat very much anymore. It's just so fucking expensive. But like every time I've gone to a sit down restaurant, there's at least one family where I see them with the kid in front of the iPad already, or the kid's getting rowdy. They sit the kid down in the booth and they slap the iPad, and immediately, of course, they're like,
"Yep."
And they just zombie out.
And
it's like, well, yeah, no shit. That's so much stimulus on a 9-year-old brain. It's probably freaking out. Like, what are all these colors? What are all these animate? Like, what is going on? So it's just, I don't know, man. Like, it makes a lot of sense why a lot of parents are pulling their kids out of public schools because
we're not aligning with the results that is being produced from the from the Department of Education right now in our public school systems. Like you said, we're very low on the list in education. And I mean, with everything.
We're 51.
Yeah.
We are not, because they started counting in 2021, I think, 2022. Yeah. They started counting Washington, D.C. on like the rankings for stuff like that. And we're 51.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's wild too, bro, is I'll say, like I was reading my comments on that video and somebody said, and no wonder why, and this is proof that New Mexico is number 51 in education. And I'm like, so shitting on kids in this current, because when I was in school, we weren't 51. You know what I mean? So you're shitting on these current kids right now.
You're right.
Your
school. Kids are why I'm dumb.
Yeah. I'm like, make that. Yeah. You're a product of the Albuquerque schools, fucking public school system, obviously, bro. Like, come on, bro.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, and see, and the thing is, too, you know, like this is the way I'm looking. I'm looking at it like a business, you know. If you are putting money, you're paying an employee, right? And you have them doing tasks for you, and that's what they're paid for, right? And they don't perform those tasks, or they slack, or they don't produce the results that you need. Like, are you going to keep paying them? You know what I'm saying? So you got to look at it like the Department of Education. It's not that, and the thing is, it's an audit, which means it's a freeze. It doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way, and that's what people need to understand. You know, with the Department of Education, I say get rid of it. We've had it for so long, and look where we're at now in the whole country. Look where we're at as a state in education. Like I said, I think they should bring like classes like home ec back. They should bring classes on how to teach life skills. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even teach prerequisites to college courses that like maybe like in this new age shit, you know, like with graphic design.
Like how to choose a college?
Yeah. Or like anything, bro.
Like legit, how to, if you're going to go to college, how do you choose the right one that's for you? What's the difference between a public college and a state institution?
Right.
What's the difference between that and a military college and an Ivy League school? And where do these college, how do you find what college excels in what? Like, I didn't know this, but we have like I don't know what it is now, but at least pre-pandemic, we had like the number 5 pre-law school in the nation.
Wow.
Who knew about that?
I didn't know about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, nobody fucking knows about that. We just know about UNM because of the medical program,
right?
Which is phenomenal,
right?
But like we don't
for law though. That's crazy. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
We were like number 5 or number 4 in the nation for law school for pre-law. Yeah,
that makes sense because of all the crime that goes down here. Right? You can't run out of lawyers over here, bro. We don't have enough of them, obviously.
I think all the Adam Oakey and the Ron Bell billboards would have to disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Hey, shout out to Adam Oakey. That's my boy right there. You know what's funny is I ran into some dude that looked like Ron Bell at, where the fuck was I? I think it was Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, shit.
And I seen him there, and I was like, hey, it's Ron Bell. He's like, bro, I'm not Ron Bell.
He's like, for the final fucking
time. No,
time.
I know who you are, bro. I seen the fucking commercials and I seen the billboards, bro. You're Ron Bell. You knocked the bell out of crime or whatever you say, bro. Like, I know it's you, dog.
Have you met Ron Bell?
I haven't yet.
That is a weird.
I partied with his daughters a long time ago when I was a youngster. They were crazy, bro.
He's a weird dude.
Is he?
He's a weird cat. Yeah, I've heard some stories. I've heard some stories about him. I have my own little weird interaction.
What, he's like into pegging or some shit?
Well, let's just say he would back in the 90s. He may or may not, allegedly. These are stories that I've heard from people that have now passed away, unfortunately. But he may or may not have frequented a certain strip club and taken a certain demographic underage dudes into the back of the strip club and do a little skiing in the back.
Yeah.
And he's just a weird cat. And he's tiny, too.
Yeah.
He's like 5'3".
Wow.
Yeah, exactly, because he came into a restaurant I was working at years and years ago when I was like, I was 20, I think. Yeah, I was like 19 or 20 at the time. Yeah. Just a weird dude.
Yeah.
Weird guy.
Just talked weird, just awkward or?
Talked weird. He spoke weird. He interacted with me weird. The people he was with were kind of strange.
Yeah.
It was a late night restaurant encounter.
Yeah. So it's like they're definitely in the forest naked sacrificing animals.
Yeah, there's something going on.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you hear the stories about like fucking Susana Martinez and her pizza parties.
No, you know the stories about Susana Martinez and her
exactly.
pizza. And I will say this, for all of the weird like instances or like controversies or just genuine fuck ups for a politician to get into, drunk ordering a pizza ain't that bad. We've all been there.
Right. I mean, shit, at least she wasn't driving. Right? Yeah.
Well, that's like New Mexico's national pastime is drinking and driving, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. But we look at it as a problem because you might hit a bump and spill. We don't look at it like it's going to fuck up the rest of our lives.
You brake check me. I have an open beer and you brake check me.
Yeah, it's like, you motherfucker, this is 3/4 of the way filled right now.
We live in because because you brought it up in the BS show. How do you go about like representing the New Mexico culture? Because there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Right.
And not even just outside looking in, just like New Mexicans.
Yeah.
It's cholo shit. It's Breaking Bad and green chili.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty much it. And obviously there's a ton more to it, obviously. But that's like the stereotype, right? And you brought it up, and I'm not talking shit, but I found those guys too, those younger guys that are up in like Taos or whatever that do those TikToks. And because I saw that and I was like, I'm not even a part of like that culture of New Mexico.
Right.
And that offends me. Like, you are making us look so bad.
Right. I mean, and I've said this honestly, bro. I like everybody can like that content to each their own. I don't find it entertaining.
It's clearly geared towards a younger demographic.
Right.
And,
right. I mean, you'd have to be a third grader to actually enjoy that shit. You know what I mean?
You're the ninth grader on the iPhone, just fucking.
Well, and then here's the thing: is I find out that he's not even like of Hispanic heritage or anything. You know?
Oh, sick!
Yeah,
right.
so he's
wearing brown face. Awesome.
Right. So he's actually Arabian. He's Arabic. Yeah, bro. His name is like Dottie or some shit like that, Hottie or something. And
Jesus.
and
That's funny.
You know, so when I found out that, I was like, well, you know, I get your, you know, the lingo and stuff, but in a way, like, since it's not like what you grew up in you know, listening to your grandma talk to you in the kitchen type shit. Like, it's kind of like you're making fun of us in a way, because you're like dumbing it down to make us, like I said, it makes us look like fucking hillbillies. Yeah, like literally, bro. Like, I feel like when people watch that video, they probably look at us like we fucking hunt rabbits that are running around our backyard and eat them. You know what I mean?
Have you ever heard of a Smith's before?
No.
Or like a Walmart, like that's how we act.
Oh, Smith's, yeah.
Yeah. It's like that's how we fucking act. But that's how they display it. So like when you're obviously, because a lot of your stuff is, well, the 99% of it is comedy, it's parody. Do you ever does that ever cross your mind? Because I would just imagine that it doesn't, but for a good way, because you know that you're coming from a good place.
Right.
Your audience knows that you're coming from a good place. So it's not really like a thought, but has that ever been a thing to you where it's like, I don't want to like really piss too many people off, but like,
no,
or like be offensive to the culture, I guess.
I think it's like the opposite. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm not, you know, I'm not over here doing a you know, exaggerated, stupid accent. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm putting what I seen in the streets onto a video form, but making it funny. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's the answer I was hoping for.
Yeah. Some people are like, oh, he's making fun of drug addicts. It's like, well, first of all, if you knew my history, I was that character.
You kind of have that card to play in your deck. Right. I think you're allowed to.
Right. I'm allowed to. Yeah. It's like you can't get mad at me for fucking making content based off my real life. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what drew people to it is it's like, whether you like it or not, like, it's so damn accurate. How many times have you been at the gas pump and somebody came around the corner with an empty gas tank and they're like, hey, bro, do you have a couple of dollars? My car broke down. The transmission won't work. I have all 4 blown out tires, cracked windshield. But if you could help me out with a couple of gallons of gas, I'd appreciate it, dog. You know what I mean? And it's like, everybody has that experience and we all go through it. Is it pretty? No. Is it something that we want to glorify? No. But is it relatable? Yeah, I mean, you could call me an asshole and say I'm making fun of addicts, even though I am one, but I mean, it's the truth.
But being able to laugh at what you encounter on a day-to-day basis, positive and negative, it's a good thing. Because what's the alternative?
Right.
Dwell on how bad it is?
Yeah, just sit there and victimize yourself. Like, I'm a firm believer in not having the victim mentality. Like, in fact, I want to get little victim cards printed out, like fucking, you know, like little fucking business cards that say victim on it. So whenever somebody's crying like a little bitch, I'm gonna just give it to them and be like, you dropped this, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like everybody has had shit happen to them in their life. You're not special or deserve special treatment because you went through some bullshit. We all have. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, let's make the best of the bullshit that we've gone through and make it better. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
No, exactly. That's the best way to go about it. I think that's a good segue. Now that you know, how many kids do you have? Just one kid?
One legitimate, 19 illegitimates. I just didn't want to take care of them. I was like, fuck that. That's a lot of money.
New Mexico answer, ladies and gentlemen. Take it from my father. That is the New Mexico answer.
No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to take care of them, but I just didn't get around to it. Just kidding.
So you have, she said she's 15, right?
Yeah.
So with everything that you've experienced in life, and now that you're entering this new realm of social media, you get to understand it from a different perspective than a lot of parents do.
Yeah.
How does that affect your parenting?
So I mean, honestly, it's kind of like, you know how like social media, like to some kids is like, oh, I want to get a page and I have to hide it from my mom. You know what I mean? With me having that, it's almost like I had it introduced to my daughter. It was in her face with me about it. So like for her, it's not like something crazy, special, cool that she wants to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I mean, if anything, it's pretty cool. I mean, some people, they say dumb shit about, you know, about me and my kid and trying to like talk shit in my comments or whatever. And I think that's pretty shitty to talk shit about a kid in the first place.
You have to agree.
Yeah, or they'll call me a shitty dad, and I'm like, bro, I'm in my daughter's life every day, and I take her to school every day, and I take her to do things all the time. You know what I mean? I take care of her. You know what I mean?
And then what about your life pre-social media when you were going into prison, coming out of prison?
Yeah.
What are you outside of the obvious? Right. But like, what are you imparting? How did that affect your parenting? Because you figure. So how old was your kid when you went in?
Let's see. She was 7.
Okay.
And then I didn't get out till she was no, she was 8. She was 8, and then I didn't get out till she was 11.
Okay, so you got out right when the real formative years started happening.
Right.
How do you feel like, even because you're still going through it now as a parent, but like looking back on it, still going through it, how do you feel like that affected your parenting style?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I think it's changed for the better. I've been more proactive in my daughter's life. You know, and just in general, I'm really a part of her life. You know what I mean, in every way possible. So, I think it's improved. You know, I would say it's improved. I would say based on how happy she is that I'm in her life, it's improved. You know, being a teenager, she does get lippy. You know what I mean? And, you know, I've had to figure out ways to be able to address that behavior and correct it. Because, I mean, it's hard, bro, because you don't want to just be an asshole and yell and, you know what I mean? So yeah. I have to think of creative ways of, you know, managing certain behaviors when I don't like it. You know what I mean? And I'll tell her and, you know, and I'll get on her ass for shit. And I don't filter myself or nothing. I talk to her like I always talk to an adult. Like, hey, cut your shit out. What are you doing? That's stupid. Yeah. Don't do that. You know what I mean? You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt somebody else. Whatever. I'll give her a reason why. And, you know, but I would say that, you know, from 5 years ago till now, I've definitely made great improvements on being a father, from developing more patience, you know what I mean, to really, I guess, being more involved with her.
No, and I think one of the most important parts that you said in that was explaining the why behind it. Like, that's one of the key points of just that I learned personally, being in like military adjacent and then being in the military for a bit, was a huge part of leadership is explaining to people under you why something is happening, right, or why you're asking them to do something. Right. It's like, it's not just because I said so. Right. Because then it's like, well, then fuck you. Like, fuck you and your say so. Yeah. Like,
I have ADHD, bro. So growing up, when somebody said, don't do that, I was like, why?
Yeah.
Like, what am I hurting you? Or it's like, no, you're just not allowed to do that. And I'm like, but why?
Right.
And, you know, that's like a really, like, so I've noticed, you know, kids that are have more riskier behavior tend to grow up and be either one or two things: a badass, successful entrepreneur, or in the state penitentiary or fed. You know what I mean? Because you don't get to those places without being risky. You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, with business, you have to have risk, you know, and you never know until you try. And, like, you know, and it's weird because I've, you know, from analyzing, from being on both sides of the spectrum, I can see how a criminal mind and a business mind are almost like very similar.
Well, you look higher up at the business stat or the business ladder in this country, like, wow, you guys are not that far removed from criminals.
Right.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, no, real shit. Real shit. The real criminals wear suit and ties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's real shit. I think that's a good way to go about it. And it's just interesting the way, because I have a lot of friends that are just now having kids. I don't have kids personally, but I think that a good mark that you're raising them properly is that when they do start hitting their early teenagers, you can speak to them as adults.
Right.
Obviously not like as high articulated, but just you treat them like a fucking human being. You have to baby them anymore.
Right.
You don't have to be like, hey, this is why he's like, hey, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing?
Yeah. Snap.
Yeah.
Get them in reality right away.
No, yeah, exactly. So it sounds like you're going about it the right way. What when she first came into your life and she was first born, was that a scary time for you? Was that an exciting time for you? How old were you when she was born?
I would say it was scary because I was 19.
Okay.
So when I found out she was coming, I hadn't even been able to buy beer yet legally for the first time, you know. So I was very scared. And then after she came, I realized, you know, over time, month after month after month, and turned into a year, 2 years, 3 years, I realized that all the fears that I had before she came weren't like, they were like, I guess you could say like fake fears, right? Like, because they were.
Give an example.
They weren't outcomes that was good, like not having any money to do anything anymore, not having a life, you know, because you have to be a parent, you have to be there for your kid, but you know, it's all about balance, and you could have a life and be a parent at the same
and you were
time.
definitely dipping some extracurriculars there too. So,
Definitely.
But you know, it's interesting now that part of your life is gone and she's almost an adult.
Yeah.
Do you find like this is very like surface level, but like the interactions you're having, it's like what is it like as a parent now watching your kid become an adult, like becoming like a fully like thinking for themselves, making their own decisions,
right?
Because 15, you can get a provisional at that point, you can start driving, like this is a bit of a transformational period in your own life. How do you digest all of this for the first time?
I mean, it's crazy, bro, because you look at her, you know, you look at your kid and you're like, damn, like I remember when you were a baby and I was taking care of you, and now look at you, you're over here getting yourself up and getting yourself ready for school. You know, just like you said, she's about to start driving, so getting her prepared for driver's ed, all the way to getting a worker's permit to start working. You know, so it's pretty cool. It's unique. The feeling is unique. It's definitely not any other feeling you get from anything else in life. You know, because you're seeing your own flesh and blood that is your offspring, like making this transformation from a baby to a toddler to a child to a preteen to a teenager, and then soon they'll be an adult. You know.
Yeah,
so it's a trip.
Yeah, I gotta say, I just have no idea what the
they
fuck
make you
that
fucking
is.
feel old. They really do, bro. I'm like, bro, my fucking kid looks like a young adult almost.
Is she taller than you yet?
No, she's like
Okay.
she's about up to my shoulder. I don't think she's gonna get any taller than that. But yeah, she's about up to my shoulder. But still, though, that bro, going from being a little baby to that, it's a trip, you know.
So now that you, so how long have you been doing the cannabis industry stuff?
For about 2 years now.
Okay. What made you want to get started into that? Because obviously you said you've tried doing like the vape shops and the smoke shops,
right?
But now doing it as a full-fledged adult, doing it professionally straight, like why return to that, but in a more professional way?
Right. I mean, honestly, it's like, well, shit. I had been doing it since I was 13 years old on the black market when it was illegal, and now that it's legal, I mean, it almost makes sense for somebody like me because I was so good at it doing it that way, you know, before.
That's funny.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
Shit. No, the only difference is now is I literally come up with brands and names and labels and packaging just like regular other products. It's just now it's cannabis.
So now that you've been doing it for 2 years, and you told me earlier that you started your own brand and you started making your own sales, like how do you operate all of, like what's the process of, like, let's say somebody's listening to this and like I want to get into the cannabis industry, but I want to do it like not my way, but like I want to have my business, I want to do where do you start with all of that? Because there's so much fucking government regulation and money that's involved, and then that's before you even find a place to have a shop, a place to grow, a place to
get
all
it approved
that.
by the state, make sure the electrical, everything is up to code. Yeah,
So
it's a lot.
how did you start the process?
So I'm wearing my first brand that I ever came out with, and it was actually last year in February. We had a run from February to October, and I had Dizzie cards, so I named it after me. I had a slogan with it: "Dizzie cards got me lit," and it went very well, bro. From February to October, we almost hit $250,000 in sales. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, bro. So, I mean, the reason why I got into the legal cannabis industry is, I mean, it just makes sense, bro. Like, it sells itself. You just have to make sure you have quality product. That's it. Have quality product, have a cool label, sell it to dispensaries. I would say just like there's a bunch of different ways you could go about getting in the industry. So if you're like trying to start your own shit, right? It depends what you want to do. Do you want to grow? Do you want to be a manufacturer? Do you want to do extractions? Do you want to make edibles? Do you want to have a retail? Do you want to do the whole nine? You want to have outdoor grow, indoor grow? So it really just depends on you, on which way you want to go about it. I would say if you're trying to get in the industry, go towards something you already kind of have leverage in. So if you already own a bunch of land, maybe you should get into growing, because then, especially if you have water rights, those are two big components and two big expenses when it comes to starting your own grow.
Where do you feel like you had your leg up in going into this?
I would say my advantage, the leverage that I had was, I guess, my social status, with being who I am. It put trust in people to show that I could handle a marketing aspect of getting it out there. And it works. It really does. And so me just having, and honestly, any successful business, marketing is literally half of what you have to put into it, because that's what's going to get you out there. People won't know you exist unless people know or see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So manufacturing made sense to me because when I was working for a couple of cannabis companies, I was just doing wholesale. I was working for GH Labs and I was working for Pharmacated. I worked for both of those companies, and it was cool, bro. I mean, I made my commission off sales. I was pulling in $1,500, $2,000 a week. You know what I mean? So it was pretty nice. It was decent money. You're comfortable with it. You know what I'm saying? And so then I realized that it's hard to have a social media following. That's a double-edged sword. This is what I was talking about earlier. It's a double-edged sword because yes, they see the value in me and want me part of them, but then they don't have the money to pay you your value. You know what I mean? So then I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna start my own shit, and so I made a deal with the cannabis lab to be able to use my name, Dizzie Locz, and create my own special product. And then I would also help sell it and stuff like that too. So that's where I got Dizzie cards from.
That's smart. I mean, that's the best way to go about it. Again, because your leverage is the fact that you've built this following.
Yeah.
If you can just find people that have already done the legwork for you, like, yeah, you just make a good thing and I'll put my name behind it. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, obviously, building a business and growing and everything that you just described is extremely challenging.
Mm-hmm. And expensive.
And it's expensive. But on the same hand, it's, to most people, myself included, it's damn near impossible to fucking build a huge social media following.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck do you do that?
You know what's crazy is I still don't know the recipe. I really don't, bro. I really don't. I feel like a lot of it is like based on I guess being at the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? So posting the right video at the right time and it catching the algorithm and it totally blowing up. All my followers that I've obtained was just from posting videos. You know what I'm saying? I didn't buy any followers. I didn't go around follow for follow with people. You know what I mean? I posted videos. People liked my content. I stayed consistent, and that's how I got to where I'm at.
And so, before we get out of here, what does the future look like? Like, what are you passionate about for the future? I mean, obviously, you're going to get very much more ingrained with the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
But what is just, whether it's cannabis or entertainment, like what does the future look like?
So I would say with my cannabis businesses and my endeavors in that realm, I just want to keep expanding. I just want to keep growing. So, I'm got my manufacturing. I got some great partners. We have our manufacturing facility now.
Nice.
We're producing pre-rolls, rosins, carts. We're going to do an infused pre-roll line. So we got a bunch of stuff pumping out.
What do you mean by infused pre-rolls?
So what we do is we take flour and then we infuse it with either distillate and terps or live resin or rosin.
Okay, interesting.
And
And what's the difference? So, like, because I used to have a dispensary sponsor, and they would hook me up with stuff, and they would give me like live. So, what is live resin, live rosin? What's special about that?
So it's more like live rosin and resin is more of like a natural, like naturalists really like rosin per se
Okay.
because it's solventless. You extract it from, I guess. So what you do is you make bubble hash, right? You get bags, you put ice water and water in the bags in the bucket, and then you throw your flour content in there, and you get a drill, or you can use paddles, and you can stir that, and you just keep stirring and stirring and stirring, and then within those bags they have micron screens, and they have different layers. And so what you do is you pull this out of the bucket once you're done with your mix, and then you unzip them, and then each layer has hash from the flour. And so what you do is
Okay, walk me through that one more time. So you've got it on the bucket with the ice water, and you're stirring it around, or you're circulating it, and it becomes like I'm imagining like just really thin mashed potatoes,
pretty much.
right? So it becomes this thin layer, and then from that, you lost me at the bubble part of it.
Okay, so yeah, so they're called bubble bags, and so there's like layers, right, in these bubble bag systems. So you unzip one layer, there's a micron screen. You unzip another layer, there's another micron screen, and so on and so forth.
Those
right?
like filters,
Yeah.
or okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so what you're doing, and so I left out a step. So what they do is the cannabis that they wash, they call it fresh frozens, right? So they freeze it, and then like pretty much after they buck them, right? After they pull them and buck them, they freeze the buds. And then what they do is they put it in the ice water. And the reason why you do that is because you can extract the hash from it without exploding the triclones. And you want to keep them to where they don't explode because that's when it's most potent.
And what we describe what those are.
So like, like the little crystals that are on the cannabis?
That makes sense. Okay.
Well, it's also the keef too, right? So anyways, you get it where it's, so when you do that, when you wash it and you pull apart the bags, then you collect that, I guess you could say, watery mashed potato mix right there, right? And you scoop it all up, you try it out, you throw it into another little micron sacks, and then you get a heat press. And so this heat press just puts down a sick amount of pressure and just squeezes the shit out of it. And then you have the little parchment paper that pop out. And then when it squeezes it with the low heat, it'll literally extract the rosin from the hash. And
so this is like as distilled as humanly possible.
Yeah.
No shit.
But naturals, you're not using any solvents. You're not using any BHO. You're not using CO2.
And that's everything. And I'd imagine that what you're just describing there, that's what's in like the wax pens, right?
Well, depends. There is live rosin though.
Oh, okay.
And so that's another form. That's taking it to another form. So you're basically heat purging the rosin after you have extracted it. So what you're doing is you're baking that. You're at a low temp, and you're for a long period of time, 24 to 48 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so it liquefies it at that
How
point.
expensive is the equipment that you need to do
Fucking
this?
expensive.
This is insane.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, bro, the pre-roll machine that we just got is $4,400. And it makes 300 pre-rolls at a time.
Damn.
Yeah. And then we got a couple of other machines. One is a homogenizer machine, and what that does is it combines materials together evenly, so that way you're not just mixing in and then it's getting coated unevenly. Like this machine actually combines the materials together to make one material.
Interesting. Well, right, homogenize it. That makes sense.
Yep.
And the reason I asked about this kind of stuff is because, like, when I would get just like it was like I guess a regular like wax like cartridge, and I would smoke from that.
Yeah.
It would fuck me. And I already have like a super low tolerance for weed anyway, because I smoked a little bit when I was in the military, but maybe in the 6 years that I was in, I smoked like twice.
Right.
I wasn't really, because it also just didn't really appeal to me that much. I was not that I obviously drink now, but like back then I was just like a lot more. I was a pretty heavy drinker, and I'm not gonna cut it. I was a pretty heavy drinker, but I was just like, I'm not really gonna smoke weed. I'd rather just have a couple glasses of whiskey or have some beer or whatever. Right. And then, but then when I got out and I started smoking, and also just because like whenever I would take any type of drug, I would just take mushrooms. Yeah. And even then, that wasn't too much. I would do like maybe 3 or so times a year and just fucking
very occasional thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But then I would smoke like out of the like regular like wax cartridge, and it would just fuck me up. And then it got to a point where I had to completely like I'm starting to do a little bit now, but like it would get to a point where this was maybe because we're in February now. It's like 3.5 months ago or so.
Yeah.
I smoked a little bit more than I normally would before I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning with like a hangover.
Yeah, all groggy.
Yeah. Well, then I was just like, what the fuck is going on? How am I hungover from weed? I was told that this would never happen. Right. A. And then B, I was like, I had to like walk myself through my morning routine. I was like, okay, dude, now you're going to take a shower. Now you're going to get dressed. Now you're going to eat your food. Like I was like, what the fuck? But then whenever I would smoke live, I can't remember if it was resin or rosin, but I would smoke like a live rosin. Yeah. Never really had that happen to me. Yeah. So is that just because like a standard cartridge is more synthetic?
Maybe you had a distillate pen.
Okay.
And I mean, distillate, when you make it in its pure form, it's like 95 to 98% THC.
Yeah, it was like 96% THC.
Yeah, so it probably was distillate because that's like the most potent extract you can get. But yeah, I mean, shit, bro. Like, for example, a really high potent flower strain is going to be like 32%.
Right.
With rosins, it's anywhere from like 60 to 80. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then with like distillate, it's like 95 to 98. So, the THC itself is the psychoactive compound in cannabis. Right. So if it's very potent in that, it could definitely have some intense side effects, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? And then you don't even realize how high you're getting off of something like that because you take a little hit off the vape pen, you're like, you inhale it, you blow it out, and you're like, all right, cool, I'm good, I'm still not high. You hit it again, and before you know it, you're like 5 hits in, and you're just like...
And then it hits you like a truck.
Yeah. And edibles, honestly, that feeling you're describing, I've never gotten that way off of smoking or dabbing, but I've gotten that way off of gummies.
Okay.
And chocolates and shit like that. Actually, you know what's funny? My mom, she does gummies, right? It helps her with her back, helps her sleep at night. My dad, he likes to smoke, but since he got sick recently, it's hard for him to smoke because it just makes him cough.
Oh, shit.
So he's just been eating gummies lately. Well, my mom gave him a 10 milligram gummy, and he was like, I didn't feel it. Like, because she was like, how did you sleep? Oh, I didn't feel it, he said. So she goes, okay, I'll give you 2, maybe 2 will work, right? And then so the next following night, she gives him 2 gummies, and then my dad's like, he doesn't usually sleep like a rock, bro. Yeah. And he slept like a rock, snoring and everything. And so I told my mom, I was like, damn, I was like, he's still asleep? And she was all, yeah, I gave him those 2 gummies and it helped him out. He was able to crash out good. And I was like, well, how much did you give him? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, damn, he's out, he's snoring. Yeah. And she was like, oh, I gave him 2. And I was like, oh, wow, I guess 2 was the trick then, Come to find out later, she had given my dad 2 50 milligram gummies.
Yeah, that'll...
And then she did it 2 nights in a row. She didn't find out to the second night that she was giving him medical gummies.
Yeah, she's poisoning him.
Yeah, he's getting fucked up. Yeah, of course he's sleeping great.
He's having conversations with Jesus right now.
Yeah, he literally had descended to the 5th dimension, Mom. Like, great job,
That's funny.
Yeah, so it was pretty funny. But yeah, that groggy hungover feeling, I've only gotten that way from eating like a 500 milligram gummy. Like,
yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, I could eat 100, 200 milligrams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I could still function. Once I start hitting like 3, 4, that's when I'm like... Like everything's in slow motion.
You're floating to the nearest Taco Bell.
Yeah, I don't even know what a Taco Bell is at that point. You know what I mean? I'm so fucking high. I call it drunk high. Yeah. Like you're drunk stoned. Like you literally are in slow motion and you're moving and talking like you're drunk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never do edibles. This is how like my experience. I had a great relationship with mushrooms, and then they turned on me, and they turned into a nasty bitch. I was like, yeah, I'm just not gonna do that. And then I forget what it gets digested into, but I know that
with mushrooms,
no, with edibles, because with edibles, when it gets processed through your liver, I think, or something like that, it's like 5 times as psychoactive as THC, and it just fucking. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good on that.
Yeah, with mushrooms. It's one of those things too. You don't want to take mushrooms when you're going through shit in life. Like if you're going through a hard time or you've had a little trauma lately, whatever the case.
Well, with some people that'll actually help them.
It could. It could. But I think
But generally speaking, that is the correct that is the correct wisdom. By the way, that is the correct wisdom.
Yeah, I usually suggest to people to do it when you're in a good mind state.
Yeah.
Like if you want to really push the threshold and you want to go on to a full blown out trip or even try a macro dose, which I would never suggest to anybody unless you're looking for some sort of drastic healing type of shit, like an
Don't do
ayahuasca
it.
experience. Yeah, don't take 28 grams of mushrooms.
Oh God!
It's not fun.
Fuck no! The last because the second to last time that I did them, I took 8 grams, and that was
No wonder why you didn't want to do mushrooms again, bro.
because it was great for like 2 hours, and then like 2.5, 3 hours into it, because me and all my because we're idiots and we pulled our money together. I'm like, hey, we're gonna buy a bunch of mushrooms, but we're gonna because we'd only take like 2, 3, maybe 4 grams at a time.
Yeah.
And it was like, we'll just have this set. As long as we keep them airtight, we have some now, some in a few months, some another
That way
few
you don't have
months.
to buy them again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just have them. But then we were all sitting in my buddy's apartment and we were like, what if we just did it all at once? And then it was, dude, I forgot who I was,
That was
where I was.
last thing that was said.
Oh yeah, ego death like no other. And then so that was in October of 2020, and then January of 21, like January 2nd, I took 1.5 grams and the same exact effect. And I was like, okay, we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
God, just pull me out of this, and we'll be done.
Yeah, and mushrooms are tricky like that. I haven't found the same effects with LSD. I've taken LSD plenty of times, and I've never had I guess a freak out on it. But definitely with mushrooms, I've felt uncomfortable and definitely wanted to jump out of my own skin. You know what I mean?
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah. But I could say this though, and this is what I don't think a lot of people realize with psychedelics, especially if you're going on a trip. You're not taking a psychedelic because you want to have fun and enjoy it and you think it's cool, which I think a lot of people are under the impression that's what it's made for.
That's what me and my friends were under the impression for.
But really the truth is psychedelics give you the trip you need, not the trip you want. And it could be a bad trip and it could be a good trip. It could be where you finally have a revelation and figure out that everybody on this planet shares the same DNA. You know what I mean? Like you could go on a whole rabbit hole of thoughts on psychedelics, but either way, I think they are a tool.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do your research on psychedelics, like I know there was a lot of myths around LSD on you could get perma-fried and shit like that, but a lot of people don't realize that shit just evaporates out of your body. It doesn't stay in your body more than 24 hours.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and there has never been any recorded deaths directly from LSD.
Yeah, like not like overdosing.
No, there's been somebody that thought they were a bird and jumped off a building.
Yeah, there's crazy shit like that.
Yeah.
But like overdosing on that or overdosing on like I forget what episode of Rogan it was, but they found out how much weed you'd have to smoke to overdose, and it's physically impossible.
It's impossible, bro.
Yeah,
you would pass out before you could even get to that point.
Right.
Even eating it, bro. You could I remember when it was just medical in the cannabis industry here in New Mexico, and bro, like they used to have like 1,400 milligram chocolate bars and shit like that. Yeah. And my ass ate a whole fucking 4 pieces in one whole bar of a 1,400 milligram chocolate. Bro, I literally like hallucinated, felt like I was walking under the ocean, slow motion, it was crazy. And then I passed out and I slept for like 10 hours.
Yeah,
got up feeling high still. Yeah, bro, it was pretty intense, but now they kind of cap it off at like 500.
Yeah, that's safe.
Yeah, it's a little safer, right? Unless you're my mom giving my dad fucking 100 milligrams to go to bed.
That's funny.
And my dad isn't like a user like I am, right? Like I could sit there and smoke blunts and dabs all day. My dad, however, like he'll smoke like a couple hits off a joint and go lay down because it feels great.
Right.
Like I wish I had that.
That's exactly how I am.
I'd save so much money.
Yeah, I dip my toes in the pool. I'm like, okay, we're good to go to bed.
Yeah.
That's all I need. Yeah. Well, listen, man, this has been a lot of fucking fun.
Hell yeah.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, I'll come on anytime, bro. Anytime
yeah.
you want me to come on and kick you and talk and shit.
I'd love to do this again sometime. This would be awesome. Obviously, if you're listening to this fucking episode, you know where to find this guy. But where can everyone find you on your social medias?
Yeah.
And where can they buy your new cannabis products?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, The Real Dizzie Locz. Also, I'm trying to build up my X account. So follow me on X, The Real Dizzie Locz. You can find my products. They're going to be available statewide at a dispensary near you. We're going to have the first location announcement where you can be available. We might do a little pop-up. So I'm going to keep that on a little bit on the hold for now. But just know that no matter northwest, east, south of the state, you're going to be able to find my products.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you,
do you have a date that you want to say when you're going to announce that? Or are you still trying to plan that one out?
Yeah, I still got to plan it out with
Okay.
the dispensaries that
Nice.
are making purchases, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, yeah. Well, congratulations on all of that,
thank you,
dude.
bro.
That's awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. That was awesome, dude. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you like what you've seen here, please share it with as many people as possible. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It really does help out the podcast. And if you're feeling extra generous, feel free to subscribe to our Patreon, which I have coming soon.